welcome back to Newfoundland and Labrador Studies 2205. This is Unit 3, The Country Grows, Section 4, Lesson 11, Video 2, on impacts on the Southern Labrador Inuit and Mi'kmaq. Firstly, let's talk about the impacts from the Great Depression. Lifestyles of the Southern Labrador Inuit continued to be focused on hunting and gathering, augmented by commercial trapping and fishing. During the Great Depression, the cost of fish dropped dramatically and affected their income. Southern Labrador Inuit were able to still make a modest living, though, through trapping. And due to their own support system, Southern Labrador Inuit were able to inherit trap lines. The person who inherited a trap line would give 30% of his gross earnings to the family of the previous owner to help support one another. Now let's talk about the impacts of the Second World War on the Southern Labrador Inuit. The demand for fur continued to decline during the war years. But with the construction of the air base, many Southern Labrador Inuit became employed in construction and also came to work on the base. Additionally, many Southern Labrador Inuit moved away from traditional ways of life and their subsistence activities to a cash economy. They were also influenced by the Methodist Church, specifically by missionary Reverend Dr. Lester Bury. He greatly affected the lives of the Southern Labrador Inuit trappers. Traditionally, if a trapper needed to get a message to and from his family, a note would be left at the end of a trail in hopes someone would see it and transport it to the end of another line, then get transported to another line, down the line further and further towards their community. In 1937, Dr. Bury built 4 radios and distributed them to the trappers on the trap line. On November 20th, 1937, he made his first broadcast. The trappers received news from home, weather forecasts, and Sunday services. Although Labradorians paid taxes to the government, they still did not have representation until Dr. Bury. He became a representative in government and was part of the Ottawa delegation during the National Convention, which we'll talk about in the next lesson. Finally, let's talk about the impacts on Mi'kmaq from the Great Depression and the Second World War. The Great Depression also brought hard times on Mi'kmaq. The near extinction of caribou and decrease in their traditional hunting lands drastically affected Mi'kmaq living. The Great Depression and worldwide drop in fur prices also affected the Mi'kmaq population, and by 1945 there were no full-time trappers left in Mi'kmaq. Some Mi'kmaq were able to find work as loggers and guides for hunters as one of the few sources of cash for the community. World War II brought some prosperity to Mi'kmaq, and several Mi'kmaq joined the Newfoundland Overseas Forestry Unit. Bowaters began a pulpwood operation near Mi'kmaq in the 1940s, which employed some people as well. However, hunting, fishing, and gathering berries were still important activities through the 20th century. We can't let this lesson go by without talking about Mi'kmaq erasure. By the late 1940s, Mi'kmaq lived in 11 small communities scattered across the island. In 1946, when Newfoundland was discussing confederation with Canada, the Director of Indian Affairs, as it was referred to at the time, erroneously reported that there were no Indigenous people on the island. After Confederation as well, Premier Joey Smallwood did not register Mi'kmaq as Indigenous people, excluding them from recognition and support from the federal government. And it would take several decades before any Mi'kmaq would receive government recognition, and these impacts are still being felt today. Now it's time to review. I'm going to ask you to please complete the activities posted in Brightspace. I also have an interview posted with Sophie Quillan, which is a great little interview. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one.